Most of you are familiar with that now. All right, again, to clarify things, we're talking initially with the traditional lineup, and then we're doing modifications to the traditional lineup. This is the last major modification to the traditional lineup. And I'm doing this. How many players are batting without the DP flex?
9.
All right, so you have 9 batters, all right? How many people are batting with the DP flex?
10.
Be careful. How many people are batting?
9.
You still only have 9 batters. The reason I ask the question, as we get into this, we've had situations when I've been at UIC where they're batting too many people. All right, so we're still doing a traditional lineup, only has 9 batters. All right, now we're doing modifications. We did the DP flex.
I'm gonna edit this part out. Here. Mic up, so everybody can hear that beautiful voice of yours, bro, man.
Okay, I didn't realize you want to make me look pretty, huh? All right.
No, they want to hear you.
Okay. They let, people, the coaches, and it's been all age groups. It's not, we've been picking on the 10s and 12s. I've had situations where they've had too many people batting. All right, so you do straight traditional lineup, DP flex, you only have 9 batters. All right.
But are you policing that, or do you wait for the opposing coach to bring it to your attention?
Well, usually when it happens, especially with that DP, with that flex in there, the scorekeeper and the coach will say they're batting out of order because they skipped that person or they batted that person, and then it's brought to your attention, and you have to deal with the penalties for.
But you're not policing that.
Well, in many cases, you probably wouldn't be paying attention to it because the batter's just getting in the batter's box. So unless it's brought to your attention, you wouldn't know. If I do know, I'm going to stop it. All right. Now the coach has lineup options, and this is where we start getting into these modifications of the traditional lineup. Coaches can now place 1 or 2 additional players in the lineup. We're in a situation where, they want to get as many girls playing as possible. So they've made a modification to the traditional lineup. They talk about college, they don't even go near this kind of stuff. But high schools and USSSA does this. These are known as additional players. That's what we call them in UTRIP. I think USA calls them extra players. So you're going to get people come up to the lineups and say EP as opposed to AP. And I always correct the coaches when I say, remember, in UTRIP it's AP. It always stands for additional pay for the umpires. Don't usually get anything that way, but that's what we'll go through.
Dave?
Yeah.
This has to be done at the wake-up, before the wake-up.
Yeah, yes, I'll get into that.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, now notice what I brought. You have this thing where the lineup's expanded, and now you can have a maximum number of batters with 11. Notice we're still doing a traditional lineup. So there is a finite number of people batting. It's 11. That 12th person in that lineup doesn't bat. It's just a defensive player only. That goes to the DP flex. And there's your 11 people who are batting. You list all your offensive players first, and your flex goes underneath of it. All right, and it should have been on there, John's point, that they have to announce this at the pregame, that they're putting the additional players in. Any modifications, DP flex, additional players, have to be announced at the pregame when they give you the lineup. It has to be listed as such. This has been brought up earlier. Any team may continue a game with less players than are currently in the batting order. Whenever a player leaves the game for any reason, no substitutes are available. Notice here, no substitutes. You know, and that person leaves for any reason, that person is declared out. Again, if they leave offensively or defensively, on these hot days, coaches will come up and say, I'm just going to have a girl sit in the dugout on defense and we'll play with 8. Can't do that. They have to, if they leave the game for any reason, they are out except for blood rule. Now you get into this possible situation where, and this was alluded to earlier, if you have 3 girls in a row that leave, you don't play that inning, you just skip it. And the game goes a lot faster with that. Once they go below 8 players, a forfeit is declared. All right. Players consider she has left the game, and I've emphasized this several times now. If she's not playing defense, she's not taking her turn at bat, she's not playing softball. She's gone. All right. Playing short. A team may not play short if there is a substitute. If they have that one substitute, they have to insert her. Player arrives late. This is a little bit confusing here. If a player arrives late, they have to go in the batting order that's open when they arrive late. If someone has left the game and then someone arrives late, they go in that spot automatically. This is not, all right, she goes right there, she came in late, and now she goes into that spot. Notice that this one took place first, and then that took place, she went into that part of the lineup. You know, in this case, Molly's already been declared out, and now Missy DeBoat shows up. Where would she go? You know, this has already taken place. All right, she's still here. Now Missy shows up, and Missy would go into the next open space in the lineup. Hopefully that's clear to all of you. Players who have left the game, blood rule, you give them the appropriate amount of time to get cleaned up, put a Band-Aid on, necessarily change a shirt, they are allowed to come back in the game. All right, exception to the DP flex rule. And I have these cards I'll give out a little later. These are all your cheat sheets. I gotta watch how I say that. Normally we say that a situation where they do this, normally the person like this, the flex, has gone in to play offense, and they're playing both offense and defense. Normally the rule says the flex can't be playing offense only. The problem occurs is when you have these APs now, they have all these additional players that can be moved around where the coach can do that. And now you have an exception to the exception where now the flex is playing offense only. And that only occurs when you have additional players.
Wait, only occurs when you have additional players and the flex is batting?
Well, yeah, I mean, actually, you know, the flex went in for the DP.
If the flex hadn't gone in for the DP?
Then it wouldn't be a situation at all. It wouldn't occur. All right, so, you know, the coach decided to go from, you know, 12 players playing to 11. They removed the flex position technically because now she's playing offense and defense. And then the next inning, he just flip-flops and makes a defensive change with an AP. And now all of a sudden this flex under normal situations would not be allowed to play offense only, but she can when you have the additional players. All right,
But she can only do that twice.
what?
Like, she can only bat. They're like, so if she bats, she goes and they do this, so Sarah bats from Amanda,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And then the next inning, they bring Amanda back.
okay, that's, that's a re-entry
Right, that's
thing.
what I'm saying, a re-entry, so now your flex technically is
Back in the game,
just as a flex,
that's just a flex.
right? But then the next time Miranda comes up to bat, they do it a second time.
Yeah,
Now
but
they put the flex
but
back
then
up.
Amanda would be out of the game, so,
Miranda,
yeah,
right, okay.
all right,
Don't do it twice.
all right. That's the APs, yes.
What is the rule for batting out of order? Or illegal batter?
Well, we got 3 days to talk about that.
An illegal batter or batting out of order?
Either one,
They're two different things.
correct, but
All right, first
An
of all,
illegal.
I think this is gonna be covered, but, yeah, the situation is this, is first of all, the person who bats out of order is the one who's declared out, all right?
Doesn't bat out of order. The proper.
If the proper batter misses her turn, she's the one that's declared out.
correct.
All right, you can have a girl come up, get a base hit, all right, and it's not the correct batter, and then the coach appeals it, all right,
For the next pitch.
all right, before the next pitch is thrown. The girl who should have batted is declared out, and
Mm-hmm.
all that play is nullified. The girl doesn't get to stay on first base.
She's come back.
So,
She could end up coming back.
now, it could be that the girl who just got a single, because now she follows who should have been
Yeah,
the correct batter, she would come back and bat again.
yeah.
All right, so that's what that explanation,
Now, if they throw a pitch and she's on first base,
it's legalized.
it's legal and the batting order is what it is going
And the
forward.
the batting order continues the way it is.
Whoever was after her. is
Correct.
Let's do this, Dave, because you have another presentation to give, and by the way, batting out of order is extremely important. We have a really small little
Sorry.
No, you're fine. But we have a small little presentation that either does come up in the next 2 weeks, or if it doesn't, we'll make a special effort to put it on so you can see it. So that just gives you time to do your next.
Okay.
Okay, but we'll definitely cover that for sure. Okay.
Okay? All right. Some of my little creativity here. Again, and I'm being somewhat cautious how I say things, the cost of tournament ball for these teams has gone up like everything else is going up, and they want to give girls the opportunity to play. And so they came up with a thing 4 years ago, I believe it was. They created a non-traditional batting order called roster batting. It pretty much follows rec ball mentality to a degree, but it's enhanced somewhat. And roster batting or traditional batting must be declared at the pregame conference. And what really gets confusing with this is Team A could be doing a traditional lineup, Team B could be doing a roster batting in the same game. They don't have to do the same thing. And roster batting is just what you would think it would be, all girls physically present. That's a big thing, girls physically present. There are no substitutes, and all this becomes this, and I get somewhat criticized for this because if you have a team that has 18 players playing, it's not going to happen. Most of these teams only have 12 or 13 players max because they're not going to have enough room for all these girls to play. But what you're seeing, and I just did this for example, there are no substitutes, and then you have all this here, they play everybody that's on their bench. And all these additional players not listed with defensive positions are known as additional players. All right. So instead of just having 2 additional players with roster batting, you can have an infinite number of players. I don't know if they have limits on rosters.
I don't think, they could have 40, I think.
I think they have 40 girls up there.
It becomes an issue with playtime and
Yeah.
parents playing money. There's
Right.
an unsaid limit. 14 is probably as much as you can push it.
Why is this thing not? APs may be distributed throughout the lineup. They can just mix and match wherever they want them. That's up to them, and they might do it. There is free defensive substitution. They still have to tell you. Primarily, they especially have to tell you if they're changing pitchers and catchers because of courtesy runners. Always insist that they tell you about substitutions. These people can be switched around. I'll do an editorial comment. Virginia allows free substitution, free defensive substitutions, always, even when they're doing traditional lineups. And then they come to Maryland and we follow a rule book. And all of a sudden the coaches are saying, wait a minute, they put this girl in at their pregame. Make sure if they're doing a traditional lineup, there is no free defensive substitution. So you have, because everybody is batting, there is no flex. That's completely eliminated. There is no DP flex.
Dave, I guess the general rule is once you get past 2 APs, you don't have a flex, because you're only allowed 2 APs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's part of the traditional lineup, yeah. A major disadvantage of roster batting is the effect of an injury. If a player leaves the game, an out is recorded. Now, why am I not getting this to? All right, she's injured. She's left the game. Again, what was said earlier, if the girl is on base, they can put the last completed at bat in to finish that offensive situation. You're not penalized because of an injury. But if the girl is not able to return for defense the next half inning, she's considered out. There are no substitutes when this is on here. Players who leave the game for any reason except blood are not eligible. I've said that a number of times. Implementing roster batting necessitated an adjustment in the courtesy runner rule. If you look at the traditional lineup, the only ones that can be courtesy runners are people who have not participated in the game. All right, now we have roster batting. What do you have? Everybody's participating. So who's going to be the courtesy runner? Doesn't like me. Since all players, the courtesy runner will be the next available player who has completed or turn at bat. I don't particularly care for the terminology, but it's called the last completed at bat. All right? And a player has completed her turn at bat when she is put out or reaches base safely, and this differs from the last out. Now, 3 basic rules for last completed at bat. Must be a player in the offensive lineup. And I'm saying that because one team may be using a traditional lineup. And we'll get into those exceptions. It has to be somebody who's in the lineup. All right. Must be a player not on base, obviously. And it may not be the pitcher and the catcher. You can't have the catcher courtesy run for the pitcher. The whole idea is to speed up the game, or vice versa. Speed this up a little bit. I do what I call the KISS method. You've heard this before. It's called keep it simple, stupid. The courtesy runner will always be the last completed the bat above the batter. So I blew this up, and Margaritaville, the catcher singles. All right. The martial arts comes up and she flies out. Notice that the coach did not put a courtesy runner in right away. Maybe martial arts is not a fast runner. The coach can delay. They can wait when they put the courtesy runner in. All right, karaoke walks. And then she completes her turn at bat. Now the coach decides to put a courtesy runner in. All right, who's my courtesy runner? Well, I can't use her. She's on base. So the person above the current batter becomes the last completed at bat or the courtesy runner. To simplify this whole process, you look at the current batter and the first person above her in the lineup goes in as the courtesy runner. And Rick is smiling.
I'm smiling because out of all the things, Dave, and you've done many, many things, and some I agree with, some I disagree with, but this one is the one that he hit it 100% on the nail. If you always, every single time, take out the lineup card, ask who's batting, because the coaches will think you're stupid. Like, why do you? I need to know. Oh, 17's batting. Now start doing what Dave says. He's 100% right. He needs an award for that, really.
I mean, I used to have this calculus version with all these different examples, and I go, this is ridiculous. You know, this is what it is. And what caused the confusion is, when does the coach put in the courtesy runner? The coach doesn't have to do it right away. They might have the original lineup where the person that would normally be the courtesy runner might be a fast runner, and that person may get injured, and the person who gets substituted in there because they have no one else, I'll get back into that in a minute with the traditional lineup, might be a slow runner, so now they're waiting for the situation to occur. All right, I'll do this, I'm almost finished. Be delayed arrives late. Since we're doing roster batting, you have no choice but to put her at the bottom of the lineup. She arrives late, she goes, you add it to the bottom. All right. Nantucket is injured. All right, she leaves the game. Again, be delayed, arrives late. Where does she go in the lineup? She has to go into that particular portion of the lineup. All right, remember I told you one team could be doing a traditional lineup and the other one can be doing roster? You got a question?
I do. So on that be delayed, she has to be on the lineup card at the beginning of the game.
Well, she wouldn't be because this is different from high school. I'll get to that in a minute. In this particular case, roster batting, they have to be physically present.
Okay.
All right, and the reason it came up is they did nationals a couple years ago, 95 degrees and heat index in hell and high water, you know, and the coach had 2 pitchers and 2 catchers, and he kind of hid his second pitcher and catcher somewhere and didn't put them in the lineup right away. And they was manipulating things, so they had to physically be present. The reason he was doing it is he didn't want the pitcher and the catchers to be sitting out in the heat the whole time. They was trying to solve them. So in U-Trip, they have to physically be present.
That's it.
In high school, because there's a penalty for changing it, you want all your people listed. And high school doesn't have roster batting though.
So they don't have to be on the roster at all. They can just show up whenever.
They
and
could,
then
whenever they show up, and there's no penalty in U-Trip for adding players.
They have to be online.
They have,
Correct. Well,
You have to be on the
Well,
roster,
I
but
say
not
that,
the
but
lineup.
a lot of times they're not.
as far as being on a roster, that's not our problem
Correct.
until somebody protests.
Yeah.
All right,
Dave,
Physically present, what does that mean?
what?
Physically present.
in the dugout.
They have to be in the dugout.
So if they're in the stands, they're not physically.
Well,
They're not allowed to stand.
first of all, they're not allowed to be there if they're a player. You know, and one of them, we're actually supposed to be enforcing that, if some of these girls will just go sit over with their parents or something, if they're in the game, they're supposed to be in a dugout.
Shouldn't the rules say it that way? Why does it say physically present? I mean, they can be on the ground, you can see them, but, you know what I
That's
mean?
why-
These are like little word
No,
semantics.
that's
that
why we're here.
leads to this. You know what I mean?
That's, yeah, well, but, so you've been told that that's physically present means to be physically there within the.
Right.
But you're right, yeah, I see what you're saying.
All right. Since a team with roster batting always has access to a courtesy runner, remember, in traditional lineups, it can only be the substitutes that could be the courtesy runner because they hadn't participated in the game. So now they got to make some adjustments to the traditional lineup. All right. Teams using the traditional lineup must first use their substitutes as courtesy runners because they're going to have substitutes. So these players would, at some point in the game, they would now be used as courtesy runners, but now they've been put in the game. They've participated. So there are no more substitutes. Well, it's not fair to have this group allowed to have a courtesy runner and this group not. Once they use up all their substitutes, now in the traditional lineup, they follow the same rules as roster batting and they go to the last completed at bat. It's not switching. In this particular case, now again, remember I said they had to be somebody in the offensive lineup? They're dealing with substitutes and somebody's come out of the game. These people have to be in that offensive lineup. They've taken two people out, and everybody's participated. They still have two girls sitting on the bench. They're not playing offense. The girls in the offensive lineups are the only ones that are eligible to be last completed at bat.
Thank you, just letting you know that we're at the time.
Okay, all right, I'm finished.
Okay.
I'm finished.